Sup, nerds? I'm James, and I'm here with
Jimmy.
on Nerd Alert. And today we are going to be talking about how Sonic the Hedgehog, of all things, became one of, if not the best modern video game adaptations.
It is crazy to think that basically something that was created to really go against the popularity of Super Mario Brothers, the video game, from Sega, really hit its stride on the Sega Genesis and was really, I don't know numbers wise, but popularity at the time. I remember playing way more Sonic than I do Super Mario 2. I don't know if it's just me or if that was everybody in my generation. But out of nowhere, this little blue ball of with coins took off. And it was huge, awesome, tons of fun. I know there was cartoons at the time. I know I don't think there was any other adaptations that were made for film. And I know that one of the early adaptation killers for video games was the first Super Mario movie. Yeah, that bombed horribly.
Yeah.
Sorry, John Leguizamo. I don't know what you guys are thinking. Not your fault. But yeah, that movie was trash. Just now it's become cult classic because it is trash. But over time, we've seen more adaptations. But somehow, some way, Sonic seems to be the one, at least one of the best, if not the best.
And it's very interesting to look at because a lot of the adaptations we did get were of realistic games. I say realistic because you had Street Fighter and Mortal Kombat, and it's like, how the fuck do you make a movie out of people throwing energy balls at each other? Here we are. But it's like you had Mortal Kombat, you had you had Mortal Kombat, you had Street Fighter, you had the Resident Evil movies, you had Doom, you had Double Dragon, which exists. You had the weird CG Final Fantasy movie, which was deeply concerning, and then they picked it back up with Advent Children. You had the weird Monster Hunter movie, and more recently, Borderlands. And it's like, what is going on, guys? But to dial it back to Sonic, the very first Sonic trailer almost spelled yet another fatal just video game adaptation.
And it's funny because my memory might be incorrect, but I remember going into the arcade. Yes, youngins, the arcade. And one of my favorite games was a racing game called Outrun. And I would play that. And the little dude who would hang from the mirror was Sonic. And that to me was the first introduction to Sonic. I didn't know that's what it was at first until I played the game. I'm like, wait a minute, it's the same blue dude in both of these. Okay. So growing up playing Sonic, I want to say it was the early 90s on the Genesis. It really was groundbreaking for its time. It just gave you different perspectives because at the time we were pretty much all side scrolling. And I get it. It's Hollywood magic. That's all it was. But now we have perspective as Sonic's going. And you're like, whoa, that's different. And then zooming around way faster. Granted, it wasn't necessarily controllable, but it was way faster than anything you saw on Super Mario Brothers. So it just got you amped up, ready to go. And literally, if you had told me back then that this movie is going to entertain you in your 40s and it's probably going to be one of the best adaptations of a video game and maybe even one of the best trilogies of all time, what is your problem? Are you serious? Get out of here. And here we are.
Yes, look at where we are. And it wouldn't have happened if it weren't for the fans. Both Jimmy and I have stated several times that we rarely like to give credence to the fans. But when the first Sonic trailer dropped and we got, God, what the fuck was that Cronenbergian piece of garbage? Everybody was like, what the hell is that? And for the first time ever, the fans unified across everywhere and said, no, make it better. And they did. And it was one of the greatest transformations in film history to go from the garbage that was the first Sonic trailer to what is now a more video game accurate design. And it is it proved that when you disregard video game design and the original intent behind the series, with anything, any adaptation, you lose what makes it special. And so that earnesty to go back to the drawing board, design Sonic better, and there were definitely rewrites. There were definitely rewrites to rewrite it to give it more credence to the original source. They learned and they made Sonic the Hedgehog, and it's just brilliant. It's just brilliant.
I'm impressed that from the get-go, the talent they were able to get, meaning James Marsden and Jim Carrey, as far as the live actor, even Neil McDonough, who was in Minority Report, he played the Major Bennington. To get that talent to sign on, impressive. And then to get Ben Schwartz, who's not necessarily a stretch at the time, he's coming off of Parks and Rec and is a sort of a side character. Hilarious. Don't get me wrong, hilarious. But to get these actors to be in it and commit, genius. So that as the movie was successful, and then you get to the sequel and you're like, well, who do we want to bring in now? And Idris Elba, I want to be in it. It's like, dude, somebody as Knuckles. Yeah, I think that's going to fit. I think we got this. To the third one, who are we going to get to play Shadow? Keanu Reeves? All right, come on, man. I guess John Wick is on pause. Come on in. It's like the fact they're getting these talents to be in these films and to come back is beautiful.
It is. I'm just going to call it this now. The Sonic is the great unifier. It brings people together for some magical reason I can never fathom. It's just, I think it's because Sonic was always earnest in that way. He was just a blue hedgehog that ran fast. Whenever he tried to be more than that, you got the weird ass comic book run or the games that weren't the greatest. And Sonic is at its best when it's just a blue fuzzball going super fast. And so you get all these people who are like, oh yeah, Sonic the Hedgehog. Why the hell not? And I love that the energy that goes into this isn't, I'm doing this for a paycheck. It's, yeah, let's have fun with this. Let's have fun. And I feel like that's what video game movies should be. Let's have fun with something. Let's make it what it is. It's a video game. Let's not try and make it more than it should be. Let's just make Sonic the goddamn Hedgehog.
And because they're having fun, it shows up on the screen. So we're having fun. It really is an underrated franchise, which is hard to say because it's very popular and doing really well, but it's not something that you hear in conversation with, the best video game adaptations or potentially the best trilogy ever released. And I really, truly believe it's up there because Back to the Future is a great example. There's just a falling off. Star Wars, even to that, there's just a little falling off. Godfather, geez, there's a cliff. So to have sort of the same tone and the same entertainment all the way through is just so impressive. It kind of reminds me of Guardians of the Galaxy in that each one is just a standalone movie that's fantastic. Is a trilogy. I'm still a little bummed that the third one is so depressing and so rip my heart out, but really good. I would also give that to the Christopher Nolan movies, Batman movies. I know people are like, oh, well, The Dark Knight Returns isn't as good. It's like, or Dark Knight Rises isn't as good. It's like, I think you're wrong. I think the way they wrap up that storyline of Christian Bale's Batman is beautiful. And I think Bane was a great character. But just to have potentially Sonic in that conversation, it blows my mind.
Yes. And I want to give kudos to the writers who are actually incorporating Sonic lore. Thank you. Thank you for not disregarding the goofy Sonic lore that is in the series. Because that is the charm of Sonic, is this stupid government organization named Gun. And the fact that Shadow exists in the first place, or the Death Egg, which is just a giant space station, or the existence of Dr. Robotnik's grandfather, it's just, thank you for sticking to the series lore. Because I cannot express to you how important it is to remember the source material. And that is what makes Sonic Sonic, is how goofy the source material gets. It started as just a little blue dude rolling around as fast as he could. Now we have government organizations and shadow clones, and the ultimate life form.
It's entertaining. I cannot wait to see where this goes. And again, I never in a million years thought I would be holding my breath and can't wait to see Sonic 3. And here we are.
If you are super excited for Sonic the Hedgehog 3, let us know in the comments below. If you like the video, leave a like. And if you are interested in Nerd Alert as a channel, check out some of our other videos and give them a watch. I've been James with Nerd Alert. See ya.